Well, out of all the new cards that arrived in the newest Legends of Runeterra expansion, if there was one I was the most excited about, as well as a bit skeptical because I didn't think they would give him that much new lore, it would be Sion. And after looking at his cards, I am happy to confirm that, yeah, Riot gave Sion some really awesome lore. The reason why this is so exciting to me is because when it comes to his story, Sion has always been in a bit of a limbo. His core story was always interesting. He was a Noxian warrior in the service of the glorious leader Borem Darkwill. He killed Jarvan II in a one-on-one combat, but that's also where he died. Many years after that, Noxus figured out how to bring him back. And that's where the limbo comes in. In the original lore, Sion was brought back by the Black Rose. That was back before Swain was reworked and he was still part of the Black Rose. That's why here, in the original Sion rework, you could see the old Swain standing there. Unfortunately, since then, Sion has not really gotten any new lore. So he was just stuck with us guessing what might have happened to him. But now, with all these new cards, Sion finally got his own really cool place in Noxus. So today, not only will we learn about how Sion was brought back, what's the deal with the black magic surrounding him, but also, why did we never see anyone else in Noxus also being resurrected? So now, without further ado, let's have a look at by far the most interesting addition in this new expansion, the Grey Legion. If we wanna talk about the Grey Legion, we better start talking about their leader, the Lady of Blood. Under cover of night, Lady Ferris Noradi led her Grey Legion out of the Noxian capital. It took 3 hard, bloody weeks, but they finally neared the small Demacian outpost her scouts had identified. It was time for her demonstration. So, as we can see here, Lady Ferris Noradi, also known as the Lady of Blood, is leading the Grey Legion. And in this mini-story told by these cards, she led the Grey Legion to a Demacian outpost so that she could prove that their dark magic works. We'll get to that dark magic in just a second. Before that, there are 3 things which we can mention here. First of all, obviously, you can see that she's wearing the sigil of the Black Rose. And even more obviously, she is one of the Crimson Mages, the Hemomancers who follow Vladimir's teachings. This goes hand in hand with the other thing which we can mention here. Behind Lady Ferris, you can find Ophelia. She's one of the Hemomancer students which have been in the game since the beginning, and the quotes confirm that she is her daughter.
Try to understand. I matter, you don't.
Come, Ophelia. You have floundered for long enough.
Lastly, we have to talk about this other guy. That is Dr. Aslanger, who is also one of the Hemomancers, and he might be by far the most important character here. He even got his own card, the Grave Physician. Dr. Aslanger was once a respected and retiring physician, who garnered his incredible reputation through years of hard work. But it wasn't until a young noblewoman was brought to his study, her blood blackened by betrayal, that he truly began serving Noxus. Unfortunately, this young noblewoman whose blood was blackened by betrayal can be really anyone. It could be LeBlanc, because all of these Hemomancer are part of the Black Rose, it could be the Lady of Blood, or literally anyone from the Hemomancers. More importantly, Dr. Aslanger joined the Hemomancers, and using his medical studies, he can use Hemomancy to bring people back to life. We can see this even better in the card Salt and Stitches. The description is a simple quote from the doctor: "Rise again, my child." Now, if you have a look at the person which he is reviving here, based on the metal plates on his face, you can see that it is the Reborn Grenadier, which obviously is the original Grenadier, after he fulfilled his purpose and was brought back again. We have an irregularity in our midst. Though most of those we revive abhor their return to life, this fellow seems to both understand his lot and revels in the subsequent opportunities. Curious. Notes from Dr. Aslanger. Now, to super quickly go through the mini-story of this doctor. The reason why this card is called Salt and Stitches is because to make the Risen fight, they usually pour something into the wounds to make them feel pain, and that is their motivation to fight. Salt is really good at that. Now, if you have a look at the original Doctor's card, you can see that they are in Demacia, so they got to the outpost where the Lady of Blood was leading them, and there they fought the local Demacians. In this shot specifically, notice the bald guy who can't believe what is actually happening. You can see the fear and confusion in his eyes. But what's even cooler, you can see that the patient, which they are bringing back to life, has been pierced with a Demacian spear, which confirms that this mini-story continues with the twin-blade Revenant. The same soldier with the same spear piercing his heart was brought back to life. At this point you can see that the soldier behind him just lost it. He can't comprehend what just happened. And at the back you can see that, with satisfaction, the doctor is leaving after the success.
The skirmish is proceeding as planned, my lady.
They are my plans, Doctor, and it will be my assessment.
The Demacians palpably lost their will to fight upon seeing our fallen, who were so selflessly cut down by those brave vanguard, risen once more. Victory was never in question. Excerpt from the Lady of Blood's field report, recipient unknown. What is awesome about this description is that all of this was found in a letter which the Lady of Blood wrote to someone. That's why the Noxians went to Demacia to start this demonstration. Obviously, the Lady of Blood is demonstrating the powers of the blood magic to someone, although we are still not sure who that someone is. It could be LeBlanc, it could be Lord Vladimir, but technically it could also be someone like Swain. Now, this card mentioned how the Demacians quickly lost their will to fight, and that's because of what happened in the Lost Soul card, or at least what is told in its description. The Demacians crawled to their ramparts to find death itself descending upon their walls. Though they were able to fell some of the Grey Legion, the dark tide of war soon proved unstoppable. So yes, no matter how many soldiers the Grey Legion loses, with Hemomancy by their side, the tides of the Risen just keep pouring in. As a fun fact, in this image we can also see the Twin-Blade Revenant. However, reviving mere soldiers who fall in battle is not the only thing the Grey Legion is doing. They can also focus that magic on beasts, which is the case with the Fallen Rider. It was only after rubbing the rider's armor with black shade leaves that they were finally spared from the basilisk's viciousness. The plants are native to the hinterlands, just as the beasts, and are as pungent as they are poisonous. Notes from Dr. Aslanger. Of course, we have seen this rider before as well, and we can see that in their risen form, even the Dauntless Vanguard are no match. Besides this, there is also someone like the Noble Rebel. This one was basically an insider enemy, but using Hemomancy, they can now be used as pawns. Or so the description says. What could better instill loyalty in a would-be traitor than the sight of a butchered conspirator, brought back to fight under the Noxian banner? They will all serve, one way or another. Now, since this is called Noble Rebel, I wonder if this was some kind of an insider in Noxus going against the Black Rose, or if this noble was a Demacian, and they were converted into the Noxian Empire. Now, of course, the Noxian clothing would be confusing here, but with so much effort put into reviving these people, giving them Noxian clothing would be the least of their problems. I believe this was a Demacian noble, because sending him into battle against friendly faces would be about the most Noxian thing imaginable. Then there is the ancient Warmonger, who is not one of the recently fallen. As Lady Noradi's powers grew, she pondered whether her powers would take root in the corpses lining Noxus's oldest tombs. She found the light of life a mere flicker in the husks, but from those wilting flames, the shadows of war still danced. So yes, the Lady of Blood went into the Noxian tombs, and there she started reviving ancient warriors. So who knows? It is possible that this one specifically can date back to something like Mordekaiser. And for the last follower, we have the Fallen Reckoner, who seems to be doing fine against the Demacian shield wall. The first Minotaurs I revived were docile, useless beasts. Neither the thrum of war nor the threat of death could stir their senses. It was the good lady's suggestion that finally woke the creature. A small dose of iodine salt into the bloodstem, lethal to any mortal, but simply agonizing to our patient. To the Risen, there was no greater motivation than pain. Now, this specific Reckoner could be one of the Reckoners which we have seen in the other cards, but the description mentioned that the doctor tried to revive many different Minotaurs. So this Reckoner could be just one of many. And this finally brings us to Sion himself. The greatest achievement of the Grey Legion. And perhaps, who knows, maybe the original demonstration was leading to the approval of reviving Sion. Sion glimpsed fleeting flashes of opaque memories. Legion standing before him. Acolytes, crowns, war, a king's death rattle. The great nothing. Blood. But just as soon as they floated by, they floated past. Pale ribbons in the wind. Now, here's the thing. All of this is referencing the fact that yes, Sion did kill Jarvan II. After his death, he saw the Great Nothing, and then he was revived with blood. But the amazing thing about this entire story is that they didn't retcon the way Sion was brought back to life. Theoretically, the original teaser still stands, because there you can see Vladimir using Hemomancy to bring him back. And what's great is that the quotes confirm that that is still the case.
I've dressed for the occasion in red.
Bloodstone, I remember you.
Hello, my darlings.
You did this to me.
He still knows that Vladimir is the one who caused all of this. Because not only Vladimir might have been the one who directly revived him, but even if it wasn't him, he still indirectly caused all of this because he's still above the rest.
Hello, my darlings.
Lord Vladimir, a pleasure, as always.
You ended my peace.
Yes, and when the time comes, I shall return you to it.
Going back to Sion, then there is his level 2. Through the din of battle, he remembered. He remembered his life. A proud servant of Noxus. A revered general who gave his life felling Demacia's king. He remembered his death, and the empty expanse that followed. His was a good life, a good death. But this was madness. The card connected to this, the Roar of the Slayer, confirms that the Hemomancy did affect Sion's mind. As madness consumed him, he stopped caring whether he was fighting enemy or ally. And even after he dies in the midst of battle, again, he gets one last chance to strike the enemy. That's why there is the Sion Returned. The description talks about the moment Sion was revived. Though the fog lingers as we first wake Sion, the full spectrum of war stirs a life within him that is both furious and reluctant to end. The notes of Dr. Eslanger. Here we can not only see that the Lady of Blood is present to see what Sion is capable of, and in fact this kinda proves that maybe this demonstration was all about seeing what Sion could do. But also, the person who Sion is going to crush in mere seconds is someone who was seen in the other cards throughout this mini-story. But that is the new lore of Sion and the Grey Legion. Honestly, I am really excited about this. As I mentioned in the past, Sion was just kinda there. We didn't really know why he existed, what he was really being used for, and what was Noxus going to do with him. Now we know that Sion is not the only person who was revived, there is an entire legion doing it. But even though now Noxus does have its own army of zombies, it kinda makes me wonder. All of that is still connected to the Black Rose. How is it possible that all of this is happening behind Swain's back? Still, in my mind, all of this is a really good story on its own. And I think I know why that's the case. If Sion had a brother, we would be too close to a copyright.